Oh, I can see it right now. You are out and about going to the fair. You're going to the row where all the carnival games are. You're throwing the darts, you're throwing the ring toss, you're burning those goldfish, and maybe you get to win the giant behemoth, giant pink gorilla, and you carry it all around. The sweat's pouring down your face, and you're like, I'm a winner. Well, that's the kind of feeling that we want you to have in the month of July as a PayProTec partner. We want you to feel as a winner because we are crossing over on EPX that we're crossing over since 2016, our 100,000th merchant. And sometime in the next 3 weeks, one of those merchants is going to come. One of those merchants is going to activate, and that's going to be our 100,000th merchant. And just for the heck of it, we're going to give you an extra 25 grand. No questions asked. Just give us the merchant. And on top of that, we're like, well, everybody needs to win. We got to make sure they're profitable merchants. So you can go over to mypapertech.com/July, check out all the details, and make sure you're submitting business for the next several weeks as we go through July and continue to taste what it feels like to be a part of the PayProTec Nation. And that is what we're here. Now, today, we're here on POS Uncensored, and I have a little secret. It's just me. Usually, I am joined by the Mohawk genius from the other side of the city where I'm here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And Matt Proctor joins me, but yeah, he is out helping one of our partners do a major transition from one POS to another. And for a multi-location, I forget the numbers, but a lot of them. He's down in Texas. He's out helping them out. He's getting everything smoothed out, plus doing a couple other meetings while he's down there. And that meant he couldn't go live with me today. So I thought it's time for me to get on my soapbox. So as I was putting the thoughts together, you give me a mic, you give me a video, you give me a screen, and I think, hey, let's go ahead and work through one of the things that I don't think we talk about enough. We do placements on all of our POS systems. Yes, I know you're not surprised because you guys are doing that. And I will ask Matt Proctor when we're in meetings, and I will ask him when we're together, do any of our partners ever sell a purchase of a POS? And they're like, no. And then I realized that according to the different sources, and I found different numbers, but anywhere from 27 to 50%, I think it's probably in the 30% range of all POS systems sold in restaurants. It's the only number I could find. I couldn't find the retail side, but I'm going to assume it's somewhat similar, are purchased. They purchase the equipment. They're not leasing. They're not putting a placement like we do. They're purchasing it. And in our world, and we love being able to do this, and we're not going to stop, but we place nearly all of our POS. And what does that mean? You come to us, you do the right pricing, you put us in the edge deals, they have volume, we give you a $1,499 credit because we like to get a stake. We're not giving you $1,500, we're going to give you $1,499 or $1,299. We always like to make sure that $1 is on our side. But we give you a placement credit, and you go out, you sell $6,000 worth of hardware, it all gets placed in, the merchant pays maybe $1,000, maybe they pay nothing, maybe they just pay the shipping fees, they get in and start paying the SaaS, and then you get go rolling and we start making money, and you put it on your non-bonus ID. And if you were watching Office Hours earlier today, or you go back and watch it sometime in the next couple of weeks or days or weeks or months, and you watch to bonus or not to bonus, you know that the free equipment, the placement equipment, is only done on our smaller split bonus IDs. And I wanted to talk about what I would love to see. I would love to see in the PayProTec world that a few of our PPT warriors who are out there helping merchants across the United States that are placing all kinds of point of sale systems that they might occasionally sell. Now, I have a good friend that used to work at PayProTec, still works in our family of companies, still connected to us, still lives here in Indianapolis, Mr. Robert Kramer. Maybe you know him, but he would always say, maybe a little disparagingly, but in a great, cheerful way that only Bob Kramer can do, he would say, our partners don't know how to sell. Because he grew up in a world where he was selling for a POS company, or he was working for a restaurant where the only option in the POS world, if you were going to use that full POS, was to be able to place that or buy that POS as a restaurant, or to sell that POS. So you had to provide enough value that you walked into that restaurant, you walked into that retail, and somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500 per station, and all the peripherals, you're usually looking at $6 to $15 to $20 to $25, that'd be great, $25,000 of hardware going into these businesses, and you had to provide the value and provide the mission and provide the opportunity for that company to say, yeah, I'll pay that. It's the cost of doing business, cost of goods sold, cost of importance is what we do. Now at PayProTec, we understand, and we are responding to the marketplace, because we know we have some competitors out there that are, hey, we'll give you all the equipment. It's only $29 per station. And but let's be honest, at the end of the day, I'm not going to name by name those different processors out there and those different competitors. But what we see it, we know it. What has to happen in order for them, if they give everything away, no upfront cost, $29, and on top of that, we'll throw you $5,000 after you process as long as you do it. Hey, we do all that. They have to make up that money. And that comes in a couple things. One, lower splits to you, lower margin to you. It comes from another way. We're going to raise the rates at some point after 12 months, 13 months, 2 months, 6 months. I just saw one at 6 months. Boom, suddenly you got an extra 40 basis points being charged in there. Hey, we're going to make sure there's extra margin. Hey, that SaaS fee is no longer 29, it's 89. Oh, by the way, we're going to start nickel and dime you for each one of those features. And there's always that they already have the strategy, because we're in business to make money, to be profitable. And that's why we talk about the triple win. There's got to be a way for us to do business where in our world, PayProTec makes money, our wonderful partners like yourself make money, and the merchants are making money. And we're not all paying out through the nose all these fees, but we've got to make sure that we're profitable. And in the POS world, all too often, that's a lot of times the POS sits there not making money, or the merchant ends up paying too much money, and we need to have a little equity. Well, there are reasons and times when the placement is not probably the best option. And so I'm going to try to talk us through that. This is going to be pretty short, though I've already taken a few minutes and I don't even know what my time is. When I got on my soapbox got a little excited. In fact, so much excited that my thing that I'm going to pull up here kind of timed out, because I'm going to go to my iPad. Let's see if I can get this up and running. I've got to get over here and get signed in and make sure that my iPad, which timed out, come on, iPad. I may have to plug the HDMI again. I let it time out. Let's see if I can do this. If not, I'm going to have to do this without my little iPad. All right, let's see if I can make it work. Come on, iPad. So we're going to try one more thing. We're going to unplug. Did it? Oh. Plug it in again. I do have an iPad here. All right, so sometimes I just tested this. It all worked, and then I didn't think through the fact that it was going to time out while I was talking. And that timeout, something happened, and I don't know what. So I'm going to try this one more time. Come back here full screen. Give me a second. We'll come back and do a couple of changes and see by any chance, is this working? I'm going to come over here. You're seeing me square the secret. Yeah, it is all there. Something didn't work. This worked perfectly beforehand. So I'm going to have to verbally walk through this. I was going to draw this out, bring a calculator up, use all the tools on the iPad. I'm going to figure out what I did wrong there. So let me come up here full screen. And so now you just got me. And so we're going to try to walk through. So I'm going to mathematically, I'll probably draw this out. So because I had done this and I have the notes in front of me. But basically what I want to say is this. The number one reason you do a placement is a lot of merchants are going to come say, hey, I don't want to be under a contract. That is our number one reason why they're going to do a purchase over a placement. Because a placement always has to have a contract. It always has to have an ROI, and we're always somewhere between 6 and 18, sometimes longer months till we're profitable on the PayProTec side when we're making all that money or all that push. So it's got to be a 3-year contract to make any sense for us to do that. And that is why contracts, and they existed everywhere, whether you're doing a lease or you're doing a placement where we're just paying for everything up front and then we're making the money back on the processing over a period of time. That's why it's got to be on the lower split. And at times when they come and say, hey, I do not want to have a contract, I want to be month to month, the only way they can do it is purchase. Okay, so that's number one. That's the number one reason why to do a purchase. Number two is because sometimes that's a better way to sell, because the marketplace is filled with placements. There's tons of free systems out there. There's tons of no upfront costs out there, but there are very few, because there are none of those out there that are saying, oh, by the way, the contract's just month to month. And you can be month to month and say, hey, you're going to have to invest a little up front, especially in these worlds where you're looking at, $20,000 to $40,000 quick service restaurants where they're looking out there and they're saying, man, I don't really want to make a huge upfront. Because the other thing is what we are doing, and this is what I get frustrating to me, is, and Square does a little bit of compensation, or it's not compensation, a little bit of not free placement, but they will help certain bigger restaurants out with some longer term deals. But the fact is, a lot of our restaurants and a lot of our competition and our coffee shops, they're quick service restaurants that are doing 20, 40, $60,000 a month, and they're using Square. They paid for all that hardware. They have 3 stations up there. They have 3 iPads, or maybe they've gone to the stations, or maybe they're now using some of the different mobile devices that they have with the different Square terminals. They're paying for those hardware. There's no option of a lease. There's no option of a no upfront cost. Everything's being paid for. So you understand when you're in the restaurant market and you're looking around and you got, especially let's take the coffee shop and quick serve market where somewhere between 12 and 18% is what Square owns. Those are all being paid for. And yes, you can come in and say, hey, we're going to replace this. You've already paid for this. We're going to do it. But they're already ready and they understand that they've pet. Their expectation is they have to pay. And their expectation is that they're month to month and they don't have to make any changes. And you can start pointing out, because one of the things that they've said is, hey, you started out and it was only XYZ and transaction fee, depending on where they came in and when they came into Square. And they've been changing their pricing around, and it's only 2.69 and 10 cents or whatever they may be. But on top of that, you started sending coupons and text messaging. Well, that became suddenly you're sending enough that it's $120 a month. I was just worried with, and on top of that, you wanted to be able to connect to QuickBooks. That was another $29 a month. And they end up paying more long-term with their hardware cost and their software cost. And you could come in there and make a purchase and do that. And why would you want to say, I'm going to focus on a purchase? Number one, it's maybe better for the merchant because they're just used to it, and maybe it's better for them so they're month to month, but it also may be better for you because why? The compensation is more when you're doing a purchase, because suddenly you can jump in and be part of something that is a higher split. Your higher split, if you're on average, most of you, when you sign up with our wonderful recruiting team and our discovery team with Jason Lee and Danny and Brian and Jenny and that team, as they come through and they're working with you and they help you set up all your compensation plans, when you have your bonus ID versus your non-bonus ID, your non-bonus ID makes you roughly, by average, I just did the math this last week, roughly about 40% more monthly. So start doing the math. This is what I was going to use this beautiful iPad for. I was going to draw it out. I had my Apple Pencil all ready to go, and I couldn't figure it out, so I will get to this. But if you start thinking about it, let's just take easy one. Let's say you're making, $500 a month on an account. They're processing, so somewhere in our world, you guys all make somewhere in the edge dual pricing world, you make somewhere between 80 and 130 basis points. There's a swing, so I'm going to go at 100 basis points as your average. And most of you are putting most of your business on the bonus IDs. But if you're making 100 basis points, that's 1%, 0.01. Pretty easy to start calculating what your general expectation should be and what your residual should be each month. And if you're going to make 40% more, then you're going to be making 140 basis points. Well, I chose these numbers to make it fairly easy, but they're all within the range of relativity. Everything changes. Everything's different. If you accept a lot of international cards, or you accept a lot of Amex, or you're obviously if you're low ticket and your average ticket is $6, all kinds of things. You understand, our relationship managers and our trainers can walk you through the basics of how all the calculations works. It's a complicated mess sometimes, but at the end of the day, if you can make an extra 40% and you're walking in and always doing placements, and I understand you lead with that, but 10 years ago, all of you walked in and said, I can save you money. 5 years ago, you all started walking in and said, I can eliminate your credit card processing fees. Well, now you're all saying the exact same thing. So now come up with a new pitch. I can get you no new contract. No contract, month to month. You're going to have to cover a little upfront costs. Yes, we'll figure out that. But for you, Mr., Mrs., Ms., Miss, Sir, Ma'am, PayProTec Nation, PPT Warrior, you can make an extra 40%. So if you're making $500, wow, I can make a $700 a month. Well, then that $700 a month, well, that's $2,400 a year. And this merchant, I think, is going to stick with me for 3 years. That's $3,600 extra dollars, lifetime value minimum. Can probably be more. And if I put them on my bonus ID and I did the placement, you start having to do the math. Now, a lot of times what happens, the max bonus, you could be maxed out at $5,000. Usually it takes around an $80,000 to $90,000 merchant, depending how you price them on the volume, all the profitability, to get you to that max bonus, $5,000 to $10,000, depending on the product. But in most of the POS right now through the end of July might be extended. Keep selling business, proving to our teams and our actuaries who are making these decisions on why we should make sure that the bonuses for POS and the bonuses for Pay Anywhere and others should be the same. But right now, I'm going to go with the world that has been up until March and ending at the month of July currently. Capped $5,000 bonus. How long do you think these merchants are going to stick with you? If you are in this business for the long term and you sign up 10 merchants that by the year 3, you're making more money than you would have by that bonus, that's $36,000 a year. That in year 4, year 5, year 6, you're making more money because of that. Now, if you need the money, that's why the bonus is there. If you can only sell it because the placement is there, then that's why that bonus ID and the free placement is there. But if you start getting into this business and start thinking long term, start creating more unique pitches, like this is what I wanted to go a little, I was going to start drawing these out, but you don't always just even have to say, hey, no new contract. You start empowering the merchant, say, hey, don't you want to own all the equipment? Don't you want to be you don't want to, so many owners don't want to be tied to so many different companies that they own it. So many of them don't own their refrigerator. They don't own their stove. They're leasing their building. And at some point you want to own something that actually belongs to you, and then make sure that you're part of a trustworthy thing. But then you're selling something that gives them the confidence in you. And then on top of that, you're going to be compensated long-term. Now, if you're currently in a situation that you need that bonus, understand. But in the world where everything has to be free, and we all know that it's not free, and we now know somewhere around every month, 500 to 700 merchants who have been sold a bill of goods that, hey, this is free equipment, then their prices get raised, their fees get raised, everything's getting changed on them, and they want to leave. In fact, that's what Matt's dealing with right now with a company that's done something like that, and they're switching them from one system all over to Quick POS. Has been a great partner to work with. When you can walk in and say, hey, if Visa changed their interchange rates, we're going to have to deal with that. But if you own your equipment and you're in charge of your process. You're in charge of who you work with. You're month to month. You're responsible. And the people over there that think at year 2 and year 3, we can raise the rates, and suddenly something that you thought was free cost you $60,000, which is one I just saw recently, because they raised the rates, they added fees, they kept adding things. Then you can walk in and make a difference. And so I was going to draw all this out. I kind of so I apologize as I do these single ones by myself. Kind of got sidetracked as I couldn't do the way I wanted to. I'm going to figure out why my iPad no longer streamed like it was in my test just moments ago. But I would love, if you guys have questions, you have comments, I would love you to email me, just Nate, N-A-T-E, at PayProTec, PayProTec.com. And I'd love to start this dialogue of why you might consider not only doing placements. Because I would love 6 months, a year down the road to talk to Matt Proctor and the POS Pros team and say, hey, are we seeing a few more of the PayProTec partners starting to do a few purchases, and they're selling this hardware to the restaurants and to the merchants? And I would love to hear say, yeah, we've seen a little bit of an uptick of that. Because there's a strategy here. And if I were in your shoes, I would certainly try to figure out which ones I need, which ones I don't, and try to figure that out. And, the biggest thing that we really want to do is, we're in this for you. We're in this to strategize, to figure out how you grow your business. And as long as you're putting that business with PayProTec, we're all going to grow. And so we're thinking long-term. In fact, we'll make less money on this merchant right now to make more money long-term because you boarded 10 more because we got less money on this merchant. We're always trying to think that way. And we're trying to put you first, trying to make sure we're never perfect. It doesn't all work out, but that's what we're trying to do. Now, as we close out, I'm going to close with the video I started with. Also remind you that you can go to payprotec.com/join or join.payprotec.com, either way you want to. And you can sign up. If you are an active partner with PayProTec, submitted one deal with us, you can join us on our beautiful Lake Michigan cruise, August 2nd, 7 p.m. Hopefully on a beautiful summer day. We're starting to already watch the weather and the trends. I just actually pulled the trend up for August 2nd. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful, slightly steamy day in Chicago, which as we expect, we'll be there in the Windy City on our breeze, on our beautiful super yacht as we cruise the Lake Michigan, see the beautiful sunset across the buildings, crawl up the river, getting an incredible architectural tour while drinking your favorite cocktail, mocktail, drink, having some incredible bites of food, and hanging with 30 to 40 of the best payments professionals in the world, and several of the PPT team, you want to do that. So make sure August 2nd, if you're watching this. After that, sorry you missed it, but we'll do other events in the future. And again, remember, this is July. I'm going to close with one more. Let me pull it up here. Video. Thank you to Josh Brown, who put this together. Thank you to Google and VO3, who put all the cut pieces together. Just a reminder, we're celebrating our 100,000th merchant this July. Will you be the one who gets $25,000 extra? Will you be the ones who get extra bonuses on top of all of our other bonuses? And maybe you'll also be the one who actually sells an actual POS and does a purchase, not just a placement. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And here we go. One more time.
Everybody's a winner!